Welcome to the Sport Life YouTube channel. My name is Kevin Ward. Let's get right into the video. Hi, so in this video, Russell Wilson just retired, right? Incredible career. Was a part of one of the more dominant teams we've seen in the NFL in recent memory, the Legion of Boom. He was a quarterback for those teams. And, wish him the best as a Niners fan. That guy, I can't think of a quarterback. Probably Pat Mahomes because he took 2 Super Bowls from us, so probably giving the edge to Pat, but Russell Wilson was just a killer against the Niners. Absolutely killed us so many times. He was so terrorizing to play against because you just never felt like you could catch him or bring him down. But his career is such a great topic to debate, right? Is he a Hall of Famer? It's hard. I heard. I want to give a shout out to the Speakeasy, Emmanuel Acho, LaShawn Shady McCoy, Care Bear Kieran, Social Trey, TJ Hushmanzada, all those guys. I just want to give a shout out to those guys. They have a great show. I watch them all the time. So hope you guys keep doing your thing. Super entertaining, super informational. Love the takes. Great. But they gave a take, and Acho said something very, very good. He's like, Russell Wilson might be the line for the Hall of Fame. I thought it was a pretty good take. And it's hard to debate, right? He's a Super Bowl champion. He's been to 2 Super Bowls. His statistics for like a 6-7 year run, they're as good as any if you really think about it. A multiple 30 touchdown seasons, 4,000 yards. Super high productive player. But I think it gets hard to say he's a Hall of Famer. In my opinion, I think no matter what sport it is, I think the Hall of Fame has devalued itself in a sense, because I think they're letting in players that aren't like the greatest of the great. Like there should be an all-time standard to the Hall of Fame. You are the greatest of the great. You are. Like when you tell the history of the league, someone said a great quote. For the most part, if you can't tell the history of the league without mentioning them, then they're a Hall of Famer. I like that quote a lot. With Seattle, you going to talk more about the defense or him? During that first Super Bowl, he wasn't the driving force behind them winning the Super Bowl. It was that defense. It was Marshawn Lynch. Now, they did put up, I think it was like 40 or 50 points in the Super Bowl. But I think Denver's all-time offense got completely shut down by that defense. Completely. The driving force was that defense. Again, they say the Legion of Boom. Well, the Legion of Boom was Cam Chancellor, Earl Thomas, Richard Sherman, Bobby Wagner, Michael Bennett, and if you want to do the boom on the offensive side of the ball, it was Marshawn Lynch delivering hits. And again, Russ is a part of that story, but he's not the main driving force of that story. And then when he became who he became as this high productive player who threw 30 touchdowns for 1,000 yards, they weren't winning Super Bowls. And again, at that point, right, the NFL contract thing that always comes into play. But you started paying him high money, and you couldn't field a great team, as great a team around him, and so you didn't win as many Super Bowls, right? Like year 2 of his rookie deal, they win the Super Bowl, and then year 3 of his rookie deal, they lose, right? And then after that, you have to pay him more money, and it affects the roster, and other guys start getting older, and injuries to Earl Thomas and all these things, etc. Playing to Seattle starting to taper off. But with Russ, right, like when you think of his era, do you view him as one of the greatest quarterbacks of his era? I personally don't. Right? You're going to think of Tom, Peyton, Drew, Aaron, Ben Roethlisberger, and then you're gonna float Eli Manning, right? You're gonna float him in that conversation as well. Who I actually don't believe is an NFL Hall of Famer. I don't think so. I just when I think of the greatest of the great, I don't think Eli Manning. I don't. You look at his statistics. You look at him. I don't really ever remember him being like an MVP candidate, even a candidate. He was incredible in his Super Bowls. He had some of the most clutch defining plays ever. He had great all-time drives, right? And the 2 Super Bowls boost his case tremendously. But I don't think of him as this supremely dominant player. I don't. So again, same thing goes for Russ. And I actually think Russ was a better quarterback than Eli was. But again, we vault Eli Manning into this Hall of Fame conversation because of 2 Super Bowls and he was so unbelievably clutch that's what he gets. But I don't think he's a Hall of Famer. I don't view Eli as one of the greats of the greats, right? He's got the 2 Super Bowl MVPs. He's got 2 Super Bowls. It's great. It's a great career. It's a wonderful career. But I would never say Eli was better than Rodgers, better than Brady, better than his brother Peyton, better than Drew, better than Ben. I would never say he's greater than those guys. Russ, too. I would never say he's greater than those guys, especially during their primes. So how, when you have the 6th and the 7th best quarterback, how are you going to put them in the Hall of Fame when they weren't even the best of their era? Weren't even top 3, weren't even top 5. Really? Again, like Eli's teams, right? Just for examples. Incredible front 7, right? I mean, O.C. Umenyiora, Justin Tuck, Michael Strahan. Like, they had great defenses. Great defenses. And with Russ, right? Incredible defenses. And again, not saying those guys weren't instrumental in their teams winning. They were. That's why it's a team. You need the whole thing to work. But you wouldn't say they were the driving force of those teams. Like the story with the Giants, you're going to say they shut down the undefeated Patriots in that incredible offense, and they held it to 14 points. That's what you're going to talk about. That's like, whoa, Eli Manning put up 17 points. Now, the Patriots defense was really good too, don't get me wrong. Put up 17 points. You're talking more about the defense shutting down the all-time offense. Guy who broke the touchdown record, wide receiver broke the touchdown record. You're going to talk about that. With the Seattle Seahawks, you're going to talk about that unbelievable defense. The defense of the era. So when you put all that together, as a voter, if I was a voter, I'm not, I wouldn't vote those guys in. Aaron Rodgers, when he won his Super Bowl, right? He was the driving force of that offense that won the Super Bowl. I think he had like 3 touchdowns in that game. And he was incredible. I mean, that throw over the middle to clinch it basically to Greg Jennings, that throw was sick. Throws another laser to Greg Jennings for a touchdown. I mean, you kidding me? Drew Brees, for such a long time, New Orleans Saints was just an absolute monster offense all the time. They were always known by their offense. Always. I don't need to say anything about Tom Brady. I'm not going to talk about Tom. I'm not going to talk about Peyton. They don't need to be discussed. Ben Roethlisberger, right? He was led by great defenses. But he had high productive years on some of those teams. Probably aside from the first one that they won with Jerome Bettis. But he went to 3 Super Bowls and he won twice. Ben definitely deserves to be in that conversation. My opinion. And again, like with all those guys, there was a point in their career, maybe Ben to a lesser degree, right? But like during Drew Brees' run, especially after the Super Bowl, where he was just getting 5,000-yard years, I think it was like 4 or 5 consecutive years. It was something crazy like that. Really, like, is this guy top 2 quarterback in the league? Rodgers, definitely at one point, people were like, he was the best quarterback in the league. There was legitimate conversation about it. Tom Brady, same thing. Peyton Manning, same thing. Never once do you feel that way about Russ or Eli. And as a fan, I want the Hall of Fame to mean something to the highest degree. And I want it to be respected in that fashion. I want the greatest of the great players to be in, right? And a lot of people like to bring up this argument with Joe Namath, right? Do I think Joe Namath is a Hall of Famer? Again, at the time, when he gets into the Hall of Fame, I'd be very interested to hear the arguments the voters give. But he has more interceptions than touchdowns. He won 1 Super Bowl. No, I wouldn't call Joe Namath a Hall of Famer. Right? And I think another guy that people love to throw into this argument, right, is Troy Aikman. Guy won 3 Super Bowls and led one of the defining teams in NFL history. NFL history, right? And the game at that point was played much different than it is now. I bet if the game was played much like it is now and he was the quarterback now, I bet his statistics would look a lot better. But Troy Aikman absolutely is a Hall of Famer. He's go down history, and it's just like you really have to be the greatest of the great, in my opinion, to go in the Hall of Fame. And there's going to be a bunch of cases of guys who were just really, really, really good that people want in the Hall of Fame, and I'm just like, okay, so we're going to lower the standard and the expectation of what the Hall is to fit your favorite player in. I just don't think that should be the case. You're going to devalue the Hall, and for the players that got in, there has to be a level of reverence to those guys. Like, we're going to hold it to your standard. We're not going to lower it to just keep putting people in and, have fans be happy. Like, show respect to the guys that got in and everything they had to do to get in. Everything. Show respect to their careers. And so, again, when the ballot's going to come out, right, to touch on the point, absolutely unbelievable Bill Belichick didn't get in. I mean, that is... What are we doing? Are we serious? Anyway, I'll leave that. But I just think the conversation is going to get, a little weird when those guys are eligible and they get put on the ballot. And then the ballot goes through. Like, as a baseball fan, I got gripes with the MLB ballot because I think there's guys that are getting in that I don't know if they're, like, true Hall of Famers. I think longevity of a career and them piling on numbers and then them getting in that way is the wrong way to get in. You should be put in based on your dominance over an extended period of time, not just playing for a long time and adding up numbers. It should be how dominant was this guy in his era over how long of a stretch, right? That for me in the MLB is what the Hall of Fame should be, right? And then, like, they're so stupid. Like, there's guys that should just be unanimous Hall of Famers. And I get it's supposed to be this rarefied air. Who the hell doesn't think Ken Griffey Jr. is a Hall of Famer? What? Derek Jeter. What? That guy's a Hall of Famer? Are you kidding me? What the hell? You want to be the one guy in the room who said no? Okay, you feel good about yourself? Like, Mario Rivera got in a unanimous vote. That's great. But there's going to be more guys as we go through the process where you're like, who the hell doesn't think that guy's a Hall of Famer? What? So you're going to wait like one more year? Or something? I don't know. It's just, I just don't get it. It's funny. Maybe I would get along with those guys because they hold the high standard for the Hall of Fame. maybe I would like those guys. But yeah, so back to the football part of it. Russ, again, great career. Super high end, productive quarterback, and again, I think he's like, I wouldn't put him in. Would I be mad if he got in? No, I wouldn't. But I think he is the line. I think he's kind of that guy where it's like, I don't know. And another take I like is, if you have to think about him being a Hall of Famer, that's how you know he's not a Hall of Famer. TJ Houshmandzadeh said that on Speakeasy. And I agree. I 1,000% agree with that. If you have to think about it, he is not a Hall of Famer. It should be obvious. Yeah, Hall of Famer. Absolutely. Like, it shouldn't even be any process or you breaking down your criteria, especially if you lived in the era and you watched the guy play and perform. Like anybody that's like Larry Fitzgerald, yeah, Hall of Famer. Right? Adrian Peterson, Hall of Famer. I think so. Like, I don't even think twice. And you can go down the list of guys, right? J.J. Watt, Hall of Famer. Aaron Donald, Hall of Famer. Matt Stafford, Hall of Famer. Like, you throw names out. And again, once you hit a pause, you're like, there's already doubt. So, again, it will be very interesting to see what happens with these guys on the ballot going forward. Again, respect to them. What they did in their careers is incredible. And I'd never want to take anything away from those guys. To achieve what they achieved at the highest level, nothing to ever be scoffed at. They should be revered, especially by their franchises and by their cities. As a Niners fan, I'm still waiting for my Super Bowl. So extremely jealous. But, yeah. So, again, thank you for watching the video. Like and subscribe. I hope everybody has a great day.